And we are recording. Hi everyone. So welcome to I have a very red face because my webcam doesn't seem to auto color correct this room right now. Or it's 39 degrees and I just had to turn off my evaporative cooler, which could also be the problem. So I'm back. I'm back from being away at camps and such. And it's a long weekend. Happy Australia Day. Everyone check out the Australian game sale if it's still on when you're watching this, which it highly probably isn't, but really cool that the Australian developers have a sale going for Australian developers. So, as I said, I had to check some things out, and what I think I'm doing is very much in the grey area, which is great for what I want, but I can't help it. I need a reference somewhere, and this program has my best reference. So, I'm actually going to just get right back out of this before I show you it. Very loud mouse. Okay, so we are going to show you my desktop. As you can see, I'm using Google Earth. Google Earth is a program. Surprisingly, that's what it is. It is a program. I better turn off my desktop audio. I'm turning it off. I accidentally turned up my gain all the way. Anyway, yay! And here is Australia. You will see that I've got some areas up here. I'm going to double click on game area. I'm also going to tell it to go to north. And now I'm going to double click. And we're going to zoom in on the Brisbane City. As you can see by the purple outline, I'll give it some shading so you can actually see it. I'm drinking some kombucha, by the way. Really like my kombucha. We'll give it some shading. This one. Give some 50% shading. As you can see, this is my game area. It's pretty crazy. We're going to turn that shading back off now that you can see how big it is. A couple of things that I'm already thinking of. See how... So this line here is actually more so based on the rail line. This being Roma Street Station here. Is that Roma Street? Yeah, that's Roma Street in there. Central Station, I believe, it's not far off Roma Street. I believe Central Station is like here. Yeah. So that's Central, I think. Anyway, that's Roma Street, that's Central Station. They're not very far from each other. It's kind of silly, but Roma Street also has a bus depot on top of it here. So that's the bus depot. So, so this whole line here, I think, is based on it, and that includes along here, going through the train line. I may actually move this train line to the edge of the river here, and bring in a train station. Bring in this train station around here, and then cut it off. Mainly because this is such a narrow passage, and it kind of is almost ridiculous to have it accessible. Like, it's kind of ridiculous when it could just be the train line over here. I'm going to have to model some of this, but it may be one of those things where I edit the city. And I'm going to have to add a couple of other train lines because the only other train line I believe is here. And actually this train line works pretty well for what I need. It runs through there. But it's like if you're over in here, how... Oh, I guess you're going to access that one. I don't know. Transportation is going to be its own beast. But yeah, so I'm using Google Earth for my reference. Now, the other things you'll see the river is marked out. You'll also see Norman Creek is marked out here. This is not going to be the water lines. This is just going to be this is where the river is naturally. So let's remember that buildings should not be in the river unless they've fallen into it. We are going to turn off the shading here. We're going to turn it back down to 10%. So, ooh, don't want to do that. We're going to turn the shading down to 10%. And we are going to turn on suburbs. I have mapped out suburbs. And as I said, these ones may not exist. So yeah, that's a thing. I don't even know. So all the suburbs have this stuff. I've got the old city marked as this red one here. And this is because the city itself is going to be pretty beaten up because I think there's a lot of flood zones in this city. Or maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just run down. Could be run down. You got South Brisbane here. I'm including South Bank and South Brisbane together because too hard. West End is this green part. I know West End's there, but if West End was there, it's so big. Highgate Hill. Dutton Park. A lot of uni students live around Dutton Park because this bridge here is a pedestrian footbridge and public transport currently across to the uni. Here's Wollongabba. The first scene of the game is going to happen around here. I'm quite certain. The AFL stadium here is going to be, if you don't know what AFL is, look up AFL's biggest hits. It's really a violent sport. This is going to be one of my virtual fighting arenas. So it's going to be probably still the oval shape, probably still look like the Gabba. However, it's going to be like segmented for virtual fighting. So, and probably have a roof on it and not natural grass because natural grass isn't growing, let's be honest. I haven't figured out what to do with East Brisbane yet. And actually, I think half of this suburb is flooded in the game. Kangaroo Point. Always nicer houses on Kangaroo Point, so maybe this is a nicer upper class area. I think it's pretty cliffy, so I don't think there's a lot of flooding. New Farm, Tenerife, probably pronounced that wrong. Newstead, the Valley, Fortitude Valley, Golden Triangle. See, I called it the Golden Triangle. I don't know if that's actually the suburb name, but because it was a triangle in the game, I'm like, the Golden Triangle. That works great. You got your Old City, of course. You've got Milton South, which may not exist. You got Toowong East, which, again, may not exist. And this is one which I've already got some plans for. So the University of Queensland sits here. And with it sitting here, I'm thinking that's going to be like my boarding school where they send off kids to learn. And this is where you're going to learn about how the guards are trained as they are. But yeah, that's pretty much an overview of how much work I've done. There is still a lot of work to do. There is still a lot of simplification to happen too. If I wanted to, I could just cut out probably a massive chunk here and move all that river over. This is only reference, and this is just me getting my reference in. So I'm pretty much tracing over the reference, and then I'm going to export these shapes, which is possible, to a secondary program, which I may have to even make myself, or use a midway point, or even see how good the game engines are going to be with taking on that much data. So I can model it in a second program, which is going to be fun. So my next big step is trying to figure out where the flood zones are. So my idea is the 5% flood zones are going to be pretty much impassable, which is going to cut out a lot of the city. And as I said in my last video, it's going to also make the city a lot more harder to navigate. You can't just walk in a straight line and get somewhere. That's not going to work anymore. So public transport, of course, then will also have to be navigated around it. It's going to make it a lot more interesting and a lot more creatively designed. And the 1% chance places are going to be waterlogged. And by waterlogged, waterlogged just means you're wading through water when you walk through them. Yeah. So as you can see, this has got nothing in it. The reason is I did this entire side of the city, and then I accidentally pressed cancel and not okay. These shapes are not made to do what I'm doing, and that was disappointing. Some of you may say, well, hang on a second. How are you planning to put all the water lines in? And the answer is Brisbane Council has a lovely flood awareness map to help me out here. And this is probably not the use case of the flood awareness map, but Nevertheless, it's my use case for the flood awareness map. So, we'll make this flat and we'll select north. So as you can see, this is the flood map of the St. Lucia area. This is the St. Lucia area. I can pretty much copy the flood map across. And this is the same for the entirety of Brisbane. Wherever the Brisbane River flows, I've got a flood map. The other thing you'll also notice, and it may be unusual, is see the high likelihood. So these are impassable areas, according to my current game design. This is an impassable area. The reason this is because the storm drains actually allow the water to flow up in these areas. There's a few of them like that around Brisbane, and it was also caused controversy. Like this one in Wollongab is a pretty big one, because they're like, well, hang on, the insurance companies turned around and said, no, we don't have to pay you back for your insurance because it was a man-made disaster, because essentially the water wouldn't have been there if the storm drains didn't flow backwards. So this got the definition of flood changed in all legal documentation regarding insurance companies. So yeah. Also, I like some of the information on this page. It's a really well designed page, Brisbane Council. You did a great job. So what I'm going to now do today is I'm going to redo the west side of the city. So anything on the west side of the river here, which is mainly hard when you zoom in here, you'll notice that a lot more definition comes into play. I remember this being a lot worse. Is this the place that it's worse? No, it's this the place that it's worse. You can follow these floods quite a fair bit up. Oh, and all this. As I say, it's a bit of a mess. Imagine that train station. It's like accessible from one route. That could be interesting. Gameplay mechanic right there. Oh, there's only one route into the station for your escape. Whoops. But as you can see, that's a pretty complex flood area because it goes all the way into here. And I mapped it all the way out into there. So, the plan is, at the end of this video, there will be a time lapse of me just mapping this out. So if you want to skip to the end, I'll have a quick breakdown of it at the end, but it's mainly going to be me zooming around this map and tracing out the floods for the west side of the city. And then later there'll be one released about the east side of the city. Once I can do that, I can then start looking at landmarks I want to keep. And from there, I can then decide which streets are remaining, and then I've got to figure out a numbering system, and then I can design the characters in a way that will fully enclose the characters after figuring out what use we're going to have for each suburb. That may not work in that order, but this is a little bit of a droney job which I have to do. And if I do it now, I don't have to do it later. So I'm going to start a time lapse. This drink will change about 3 times, I reckon. It's already a bit low. It's so hot. And I'm going to look forward to getting the evaporative cooler back on and start working on this. Okay. Talk to you guys shortly. So, as you can probably gather by the fact that my video is lagging, I don't know what just happened. So Google Earth did die just then. And as you can also see, the webcam is super laggy. And I've had this before. So I'm wondering if there's something on my computer that's stopping it from working. I have so much open. Like, I've got no temperature warnings. I know it's hot today. I've got no temperature warnings. It's not like, it doesn't look like my CPU's throttled. Like, I can't tell much. Maybe we went over 32 gigabyte, 32-bit computing. Maybe my Google Earth version is a 32-bit version. Maybe that's killing it. Help about Google Earth. 64-bit. So that's not killing it. Don't think we went over video memory. If we are, that's kind of very scary. My graphics card's hitting a lot. I wonder what the temp is on my graphics card. That run by Asus. That's the GPU tweak software. Is it in there? I don't think it's in there though. If I move things around, we'll be able to tell, right? Like, you should go up and down, theoretically. No. Well, this is just the fun part of this idea, is the fact that this is just not liking me, and that sucks because I did an hour and a bit of work, and the whole thing crashed. So I'm going to look at making my GPU more stable, because that looks like it could be the issue. I'm also running a video capturing software that could also be killing it, but yeah. Anyway, you guys have seen what I'm trying to do. I'll give it another attempt. Eventually. But yeah, that's currently what I'm trying. I may even have to look at another way to do it, but I couldn't find another way as good as this. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there for today. I'm going to edit this together as one block, and if I get to work on it tomorrow evening, Monday, I get to work on it. If not, yeah, I'm going to restart my computer now. Okay. Have a great one, everyone. See yous.